and we see page speed improvements from our very first test, which was a 22 and 5.8 seconds load time on mobile and 1.7 seconds on desktop. And now we're at 1.3 seconds for mobile and 0.4 seconds for desktop. And I'm going to show you exactly how we got those results step by step in this tutorial using SiteGround hosting, SG Optimizer, and the ShortPixel plugin. And you're going to want to stick around to see how you get those page speed improvements. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below this video. I try to answer them the best I can. My name is Bjorn All, passing the WP Learning Lab. We will help you get better at WordPress so you can earn more for yourself, for your customers, and for your business. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Now let's get started. This is the website we're going to speed up. It is built using Elementor, and that is a problem when it comes to site speed. And it's an Elementor page like you see anywhere really, just a home page with stuff on it, widgets, things to do, links to click on, and it's just a regular old website with no optimization done to it besides the images. The images are compressed, and if I go to our plugins, we don't have any speeding up plugins, no caching plugins. We've got a backup plugin, the SSL forcing plugin that I use, really simple SSL, Elementor Pro, Akismet. Other websites, depending on what the functionality is that's on the website, will probably have more plugins than this. So this isn't a perfect example of a way to speed up a site, but we can speed this site up so significantly that if you do the same stuff on a site with even more plugins than this, you should be able to see some results in speeding up your site. As it stands right now, when we go to Google PageSpeed Insights, we get a 22 for mobile and a 61 for desktop. And I'm not too concerned about those numbers, although it's nice to see numbers in the 90s. What I'm really concerned about is the first contentful paint, and secondly, time to interactive. Because when a visitor comes to your site, you don't want them to bounce off right away. That's why you want fast websites. And the sooner we can get something visual happening, the more likely it is that they're going to wait till it's fully loaded. 5.8 seconds is way too long. For desktop, 1.7 seconds is way faster, but still too long. Google has it highlighted in red. We like to have this down below 1 second, would be super. I run this in GTmetrix, and the scores aren't that great. GTmetrix has been changed over the past little while to more closely match what Google's producing over on PageSpeed Insights here. And the first largest contentful paint is 2.3 seconds. And again, that's not fast enough. So this site is hosted on SiteGround. So just being there gives it a bit of a speed boost from other hosting accounts because we have, where is it? The time to first byte right here is 0.6 seconds. We'd normally want to have that at 0.2 seconds or better, but 0.6 is still pretty good, and it might be better than your current hosting account. Anyway, let's get started. We are first going to install the SG Optimizer plugin. And yes, I realize this plugin is SiteGround specific, and I recommend SiteGround as a hosting provider, and so, I'm sorry, but SiteGround produces this plugin and it works well with SiteGround itself. So we're going to go to plugins and then go to add new and search for SG Optimizer. And if you're interested in SiteGround and want to check it out, I have a blog post that I link to in the description down below where I believe there are 14 reasons I go through why I moved all my sites to SiteGround, or the majority of my sites to SiteGround. It is because they're great. This is SG Optimizer right here. Click on install now and then activate. And I would definitely not do this on a production site because when you're optimizing stuff for speed or security, there's stuff you're going to do. You're going to flick some switches and stuff's going to go wrong, stuff's going to break. So you want to make sure you're doing this on a staging environment or you copy your site to a different domain name and you do it over there just to get all the settings right. And then you can apply those settings on your main site after you've backed it up. And now we have SG Optimizer installed and we're going to first hop into our SiteGround account to make a few changes. So let's go to SiteGround. Here's our new design hosting account. Let's close all these. This is how to look when you log in. We want to go to speed, caching, go to memcached, and turn this on. And if you're finding this tutorial helpful, click the like button because that helps this video show up for more people on YouTube so we can spread the knowledge and help more people with this information. So make sure you click like if you like this video. Then we want to go to security, HTTPS enforce. This is where we can turn on the enforcement of HTTPS, which means that we can go back to our site and get rid of the really simple SSL plugin. We don't need this one if we have a SiteGround account. So we're going to deactivate this. deactivate and revert to HTTP, that's fine. And we can delete it. And as you know, the fewer plugins you have, the faster your site's going to be at the end of the day. Now we've deleted the really simple SSL. Now we can do that same thing that really simple SSL did, only do it inside our hosting account. So let's turn that on. And there we have our SSL enforced. Might have to log in again or do something. Let's just refresh out here, see what happened. Oh, it still all works just fine. Still have our SSL up here. Everything's good. Then we want to go to backups. Every SiteGround account, even the cheapest one, provides daily backups of your website. If you have the least expensive SiteGround account, there's only one website, so it'll make daily backups of that one website. If you have a larger account with more websites, every one of your websites gets daily backups. Here's a list of the daily backups for this specific website. And you can revert back to any one of these by clicking on Actions and clicking on Restore All Files in Database. You do this if something goes wrong. Say you show up to your site today and it's hacked, and you know it wasn't hacked yesterday. You'd come in here, go to yesterday's, restore all files and databases, and then hopefully it wasn't hacked yesterday, and then that new version or that older version will be back up on your site, not hacked. So that's the power of backups. I have a plugin installed that I use for a lot of my websites, but only if they're not on SiteGround, because SiteGround does the daily backups. And that plugin is WP Vivid. I really like this plugin a lot, and I use it even on websites that I have for SiteGround because I use it for transferring and for staging, making that process a whole lot easier, even though SiteGround added staging functionality as well. Pretty soon, if you're on SiteGround, you might not need any plugins at all. So we're going to delete this one for the purposes of this video because we're going to just rely on SiteGround and we want our site speed to be as fast as possible. So let's delete this. Now we've taken advantage of some of the SiteGround tools to remove some plugins on our site, which should make our site ultimately faster. Before we test the speed again, let's go ahead and go to SG Optimizer, which is the SiteGround plugin, and we are going to turn on some stuff in here. We have dynamic caching turned on. You might have noticed when I went to the caching, I kind of glossed over dynamic cache. That's because that's set in the SG Optimizer plugin. The only one you really mess around with is memcached inside of the account, inside of your hosting account. So in here, I'm going to turn on automatic cache purge, turn on browser specific caching. I'm going to keep everything else as is for now. At the bottom, turn on memcached. We turn it on in the hosting account. We also turn it on in the plugin. And I'm going to go through and just turn things on that I turn on normally, and then test the site to make sure it still works. And then we're going to retest the speed to see how much faster it is. So we're going to turn on enable HTTPS. This to make sure we're consistent with the SiteGround hosting account where we also enforced HTTPS. Make sure we have the plugin being consistent with that. Turn on fix insecure content. I don't usually turn on the heartbeat optimization. The WordPress heartbeat is something that runs every 15 seconds when you're editing a post to autosave your post, and I believe every minute. I think it says it right in here. Let me turn this on really quick. It says every 15 seconds when you're editing post, every 60 seconds when you're on the dashboard or the front end, and it checks whether scheduled tasks need to happen. I'm not going to turn that on. We're going to keep this one turned off for now. This allows you to get resources from external sites. Say you're loading fonts from somewhere else. You could add those domains into here. I'm going to turn on scheduled database maintenance. This can speed up your site a lot if you have a big database with a lot of orphan tables and orphan information that's not used anymore. So this can really speed up your site. gzip compression and browser caching, those are all turned on by default. Front end optimization, I'm going to turn on a lot of stuff. Then we're going to go to the front end of the website, see what's broken. If nothing's broken, then we just carry on as usual. Minify JavaScript, combine JavaScript files. Here's a warning, may cause issues. This is why we go to the front end and test to make sure everything works. This is also why we do this on a non-production website, because stuff can go wrong. That's part of the game when it comes to optimizing. Web font optimization, remove query strings. This is when you see in the source, if you have a CSS file and it has like version 14.0.3, it removes those numbers at the end. And then I believe that's it. Media optimization, you can optimize images with SG Optimizer. I tend to stick with ShortPixel for this. We're going to install ShortPixel in a little bit. because it has way more options for doing this. If you have ShortPixel, you can get a free account if you don't have it. But if you have ShortPixel, I would use it. If you don't have ShortPixel and don't want to get a free account, then you can go ahead and set this up just by turning these things on, and then it's just going to optimize stuff for you. Basically, you just turn stuff on, see if it breaks. If it doesn't break, you're good to go. And if you want a free ShortPixel account, there's a link in the description down below. If you go through that link, it's my affiliate link, but if you get a free account through my affiliate link, you get 50% more image compressions every month. So why not, right? So it's down below that link. And lastly, we have the speed test tab, which we're not going to use. And we have Cloudflare, which I'm also not going to turn on. And now we're ready to rock and roll to test this site speed again. And hopefully we'll be doing a little faster than 5.8 seconds in 22 and 1.7 seconds in 61. So let's check out our new site speed. I'm going to open this in a new tab so we can keep our historical data and see what we get. I'll also run this in GTmetrix. I'll let these tests run, and I'll come back in just a second. So our mobile score has not gone up much, but our load time has improved significantly from 5.8 seconds over here on mobile, 5.8 seconds and 12 seconds to time to interactive. We're now down to 2.8 seconds to the first continental paint and 10.7 seconds time to interactive. And desktop has improved quite a bit. In the load time, we went up from 1.7 seconds to 1 second. And time to interactive, we actually got a green score now, which is good. Google wants to see green scores here, and we still have orange on the left. So let's see if we can improve this some more. Let's head over to mobile again, and let's see what is causing the problems. We have right here, we're losing 4 seconds on preload key requests. These are fonts that we should change to preload so they load faster. So this used to be something that's very technical. In fact, if you're not using a plugin like SG Optimizer, it still is very technical. But if you recall, if we go to, I think, environment optimization, nope, not in there, front end optimization, here we have web font optimization. So we can preload our fonts using this field right here. So if we come back to PageSpeed Insights, and I just right click on this and copy the link address, it's going to give us the actual URL that's being loaded, and it's on our domain. So we can go into here, paste that full URL into here and click on preload. Let's do that for the others to preload all of them. And 2 more. Now they're all preloaded. And this would also work for fonts that are not on our domain. As you can see, this has our domain right in here. So they're being loaded from our site, but this would also work for fonts you get from Google, for example. Okay, let's see what else we could change. That could potentially save us 4 seconds, that right there. And that's huge because our load time is 2.8 seconds. So we could load in negative time. No, I'm just kidding. This would apply to time to interactive, speed index, the other ones. It'd probably increase the first continental paint a little bit, but it'd affect the others more than that. Serve images, next gen formats. This is WebP. We're going to do that with ShortPixel in just a minute. Properly sized images, that'll be taken care of with ShortPixel. Remove unused JavaScript. We are not going to change that because this is for SiteGround Optimizer. And this is for the Google Maps API because we have a Google Map on the home page. Scroll down, we have this Google Map right here. So those are not unused JavaScript. So we're going to keep those there. Remove unused CSS. This is in SiteGround Optimizer as well. I'm going to keep that. Reduce initial server response time. This is not something we can really change. This is the time to first byte that I pointed out earlier in the video. SiteGround is usually pretty quick. It's usually under 200 milliseconds, but right now for some reason it's a little bit slower. So that's usually okay. Eliminate render blocking resources. This is also the SiteGround Optimizer, so we're just going to keep that as it is. So let's actually run this again in a new tab and see how our one change, just the font optimization, has helped us out. Our mobile number has gone up a little tiny bit. Time to first continental paint has slowed down by 0.1 seconds. And time to interactive hasn't changed very much either. And we don't have that warning anymore for our fonts. So that's great. That had less effect than I thought it would on the page speed. Let's fix these image recommendations and see how that helps us. Let's go back into our website. And like I said, I'm going to install ShortPixel. I'm going to install both of their plugins. They actually have more than 2 plugins. I'm going to install both of the image optimization and image serving plugins. These 2 right here, ShortPixel Image Optimizer and ShortPixel Adaptive Images. I installed them both. I'm going to go to Install Plugins and activate them both at the same time. Check these boxes, activate and apply. Now we have new menu items under Settings, ShortPixel and ShortPixel AI right down here. If I open ShortPixel, I put my API key in here already. You get that from your ShortPixel account when you log in. You'll find that API key. Under Advanced, I'm going to turn on also create WebP images and deliver WebP versions on the front end. I'm going to check this box to do it via htaccess. And there's a message right here that says, based on our testing, you can serve WebP via htaccess. So they test it and they tell you whether you should turn this on or not. So I'm going to turn those on, save changes, and I'm going to go to ShortPixel AI on the left, and I'm going to turn on remove EXIF, which is extra image data that's not necessary for my websites. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to turn in a fade in effect for lazy load. Lazy load is when you scroll down to where an image is, then it will load onto the page. Instead of loading all the images on a page from the very first load, it loads them as you scroll down. So if someone never scrolls down the page, those images that are below the fold will never be loaded. I don't usually turn on the safely crop images because I'm not sure how safe that is. I haven't really tested it. So I'm going to keep that turned off. And I'm going to turn on native lazy loading. So if browsers have lazy loading enabled, they can handle the lazy loading instead of us handling it. Save changes. Let's run our speed test again. I'm not going to make a new tab this time. I'm just going to go to Analyze and see how that has improved our page speed. So there's really no improvement in terms of the actual number that PageSpeed Insights gives you. But if you look at the load times on mobile, it's 2.8 seconds now. And on desktop, it is 0.7 seconds compared to our previous test, which on mobile was also 2.8, so it didn't improve. But on desktop, it was 1 second. And I know there is variation when you test it from 1 minute to the next. But I've run this new test a number of times, and it's always coming in at around 0.7 seconds. So there is a speed improvement, and we no longer have the warning that we need to optimize our images or serve the new generation image formats. There's something that you'll probably encounter if you're using SG Optimizer that I haven't shown in this video yet because it was turned off on mine already when I started the video. And that is if we go to SG Optimizer and we go to Frontend Optimization, the render blocking JS right here, when you first install this plugin and turn it on, it's going to have an excluded file in here, actually 2 excluded files, and those are jQuery files. This one and must be this one. Pretty sure it's that one. Either way, there's 2 files in here when you install it, jQuery files. These are being excluded from deferring, which means that they're going to load at the top of the page, and that's going to slow down your load time. And the reason they're on here is quite often there's functions on websites that require jQuery JavaScript to work. And the jQuery has to load first before the functions on the page load, otherwise it won't work. That's why these are excluded by default. If you come in here and you press the X and get rid of them, then you go and test your website to make sure everything works. If everything works as it should, then you can have jQuery deferred later on down the page, which means this field here is blank, and that will improve your load time. Let's see what else we can improve on the PageSpeed Insights. We have unused JavaScript optimizer. This is for Google Maps, so we could actually fix that. Let's check on mobile. For some reason, it's not serving these in next-gen formats. There's Google Maps again. And there's Google Maps again. Render blocking resources, SG Optimizer. So we could fix this Google Map issue, potentially, at least I can in this example, by replacing this Google Map here with a screenshot of the Google Map. So this is an actual map that you can use. This is an Elementor widget. If I go to Edit with Elementor and replace that with a screenshot of the map, let's come in here, erase the map, insert an image. I already uploaded a screenshot of that exact same map. I just took a screenshot of the map itself and I uploaded it. And you could have this link to the actual map on Google Maps instead of loading on your website. You just add a link here to a custom URL and you link out to Google Maps. I'm going to set that to none for now and then update and then see if that improves our page speed a little bit. Let's analyze again. Well, the numbers improved a bit. For the PageSpeed score, load time's only 0.2 seconds. That's negligible. That could just be a random variation because I tested it from 1 minute to the next. And render blocking resources, still SG Optimizer. And yeah, that's about all we can do. This image format here, this should be updated after a while. It takes a little while for this to take effect. So this should fix itself on its own over time. And if we go to desktop, our load time is improved again by 0.1 second, which again is negligible, because when you test from 1 minute to the next, this can change. And we have no more recommendations. We have no more red things. There's some warnings here, but we have nothing that is really urgent. So why are we still only at 76 for desktop and 44 for mobile? The reason is our page builder. Our page is built using Elementor, as we know, because we just edited with Elementor. So if we want to really improve our page speed, we will need to deactivate Elementor. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the fact. Before we deactivate Elementor and then test the speed, we are going to check out some new Elementor features. Under Elementor and then settings, and then under experiments, we have this improved asset loading feature, which is an alpha, meaning it's not really released, but we can turn it on anyway and see if it has an effect on our loading. And what this does is instead of loading all the widgets that Elementor has on a page, for example, we have a map, a form, this progress bar, some buttons, some images. So those are the widgets that we have on the page, and those are obviously going to load. But Elementor also loads everything else, everything we're not using. And that feature that we just turned on, it will only load the widgets that are on this page. So every page will load a different set of widgets depending what's on that page. So let's test the speed. Let's analyze again. And that was a negligible change on mobile. A little bit faster again on desktop, but more or less negligible. Now we're left with deactivating Elementor itself. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but the page builder is bloated. Every page builder, not just Elementor, everyone, because they do so much stuff. They have to have a lot of code to be able to do all that. So if we go ahead and deactivate these, our home page is not going to look anything like it used to. It still has all the images and all the text, but it doesn't have the form, and it's not what it used to be, clearly. So if I test the speed, it's not exactly apples to apples, but you can recreate that page I just showed you in Gutenberg, and I can guarantee it will load faster than Elementor. And for this speed test, I'm going to open a new tab because I want to compare the before and after Elementor so you can get a clear picture of how Elementor and any page builder you're using really affects your site speed. So let's analyze this. This is with the Elementor now deactivated. Our mobile is now 72 and it was 41. With Elementor on, our first contentful paint was 2.6 seconds. With Elementor off, it's now 1.3. Time to interactive is still 5 seconds, but that's much less than 8.4. If we go to desktop, with Elementor on, we got a 90, which is actually pretty good, but we need to be tickety-boo on mobile as well, and 40 and 2.6 seconds is not tickety-boo. But if you just care about desktop, then you can keep Elementor installed, and that's great because we're loading in 0.6 seconds with Elementor installed. Now with Elementor deactivated, if I go to desktop, we're now at 98.4 second load time. Every single one of these is green, meaning Google's happy with those. Over here, they're almost all green, except for the largest contentful paint, which was almost 2 seconds, and now it is 1.1 seconds. Clearly, there is a much faster load time, but it's not that much faster, right? If you look at this with Elementor installed, it's 0.6 seconds and then 0.4 seconds. Or time to interactive is 0.2 seconds without Elementor and then 0.7 seconds with Elementor. So desktop doesn't have a huge effect. Where the big effect is with Elementor is mobile, because we're now in the green for our first contentful paint. Like we said at the beginning of the video, what we really want is for people to not bounce off our site. So the faster they can see something happening, the more likely they are to stay. And 1.3 seconds is faster than 2.6. In fact, that is half the time. So having Elementor not installed, makes your site faster. But then how do you make beautiful pages? Well, you have to have a faster server. I'm on a shared plan at SiteGround, but they have dedicated hosting, which is even faster. And so your pages will load faster using that. You can add a lot of custom code to your site to make it even faster, even with Elementor installed, but that's pretty advanced. All we've done so far is install a couple plugins and run some tests, and we see page speed improvements from our very first test, which was a 22 and 5.8 seconds load time on mobile and 1.7 seconds on desktop. And now we're at 1.3 seconds for mobile and 0.4 seconds for desktop, with just a couple of plugins being installed. But for really advanced users, you can get into the code and make your site even faster, but you still have to fight with Elementor or whatever page builder you're using, because they add a lot of code to your site, and there's no way you can take that all out. You can make it load faster, you might be able to shrink it a little bit, but there's just no way to get rid of that completely. So if you want a fast website, the best thing you can do is not use Elementor. And you might be thinking, well, what if I just make a page that doesn't use Elementor? Shouldn't that load quickly? Well, it turns out that when you have Elementor installed, it goes into all the pages. For example, let's activate Elementor again. And if we go over to Pages, and then we go to Newsletter Sign Up right here, this is not an Elementor page. It does not say Elementor after it. We view this page. We see it's just a simple newsletter sign up. If we view the source, search for Elementor, we see 818 instances of Elementor. Here's Elementor scripts being loaded, all the ones I highlighted in yellow. Whoops. And there's just all kinds of classes for Elementor and all kinds of code for Elementor. And recall, this page is not created using Elementor. It's created without Elementor, but it's still in the Elementor wrapper, which applies to the entire site. To prove this to you, let's go and deactivate Elementor again. We deactivate this, we can refresh right in here. Now let's search for Elementor again. And now we have 3 instances of Elementor. And these are, this one's from ShortPixel, probably some cached reference. And then this one is just text on the page, not a class or anything. So Elementor is gone, and we went from 818 references to Elementor to just 3. And that is why Elementor makes things faster. Even on pages that aren't made with Elementor, Elementor is still there and causes the site to load slower. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's just a reality of how page builders work. If you want a fast website, stay away from page builders. I haven't played with Oxygen very much, but from what I understand, it's pretty fast. So maybe that's a page builder that doesn't bloat your site. But like I said, I haven't played with that one yet. And if you are watching till now and you don't have SiteGround, good for you, because I didn't expect you to watch this long. But if you don't have SiteGround, you can use WP Rocket. That's the plugin I use on all sites that are not on SiteGround. And I've linked to the tutorial in the card up above and the description down below to check out WP Rocket and see how it works. It's a premium only plugin, but it works really well for speeding up websites. And if you don't have SiteGround, I recommend you use WP Rocket. If you're not using SiteGround, this tutorial right up here for WP Rocket is the one you want to check out. That is a great alternative to what you just saw in this video and can really speed up your site a lot. So make sure you check that out. And if you haven't done so yet, click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. My name is Bjorn Allpass in WP Learning Lab. Until next time, keep crushing it, and I will see you in the next video.